First contact. The Europa research station hung in space like a glittering diamond against the black canvas of the cosmos. Commander Elena Rice floated by the observation deck, her eyes fixed on Jupiter's icy moon below. After 6 years stationed at humanity's farthest permanent outpost, she had grown accustomed to the breathtaking view, but it never ceased to fill her with wonder. "Commander, you need to see this." The voice of Dr. Amir Hassan, the station's lead scientist, crackled through her comm unit with an unusual urgency. 10 minutes later, Elena stood in the station's laboratory, staring at the holographic display showing unusual energy readings from an object that had appeared near Callisto, another of Jupiter's moons. It just appeared. Elena asked, her brow furrowed. One moment nothing, the next moment this, Amir confirmed, manipulating the display to enhance the image. "The energy signature doesn't match anything in our database. It's not natural, Commander." "Are you saying it's artificial?" "As in, extraterrestrial," Amir finished. "Yes, that's exactly what I'm saying." The next 48 hours were a blur of communications with Earth, emergency meetings, and preparation. A specialized team was assembled from the station's crew. Elena, Amir, their security chief Marcus Wong, and engineer Sofia Rodriguez. They would take the station's only deep space shuttle to investigate. As they approached the object, its true nature became clear: a sleek metallic structure roughly the size of a football field, with no visible thrusters or propulsion system. Its surface bore intricate patterns that seemed to shift and change as they watched. "It's beautiful," Sofia whispered, adjusting the shuttle's sensors to gather more data. "And completely impossible by our understanding of physics," Amir added. "It's generating an energy field unlike anything I've ever seen." Marcus, ever the pragmatist, kept his hand near the shuttle's defense systems. "Beautiful or not, we approach with caution." They maintained a respectful distance, broadcasting standard greeting messages on all frequencies. For hours, there was no response. Then, without warning, a section of the object's surface rippled and opened like a blooming flower, revealing a docking bay. "Is that an invitation?" Sophia asked, her voice barely audible. Elena made the call. "Take us in, slow and steady." The shuttle slipped into the docking bay, which sealed behind them with a silent efficiency that made Earth's most advanced technology seem primitive by comparison. The air pressure equalized, and internal lights activated along a corridor leading deeper into the structure. "Atmosphere reads as breathable," Amir reported, studying his handheld scanner. "Temperature and gravity match Earth standards almost exactly." "That can't be a coincidence," Marcus said, checking his sidearm. "Agreed," Elena replied. "They've prepared for us. Let's not keep our hosts waiting." The corridor led to a circular chamber with walls that seemed to shimmer with an inner light. As they entered, 3 figures materialized in the center, not through doors, but simply appearing, as if assembled from particles in the air itself. The aliens were humanoid but clearly not human. Standing nearly 7 feet tall, they had slender frames with skin that shifted colors like oil on water. Their 4-fingered hands ended in sharp points, and their faces featured large, almond-shaped eyes with no visible pupils. Elena stepped forward. "I am Commander Elena Rice of Earth's Europa Research Station. We come in peace." The central figure inclined its head. When it spoke, its voice was melodic and perfectly understandable, somehow translated directly into English. "I am Administrator Krell of the Phroxian Collective. Your presence is unexpected." "As was yours," Elena replied diplomatically. "This is our solar system. We detected your arrival and came to investigate." The 3 aliens exchanged glances, their skin tones shifting to a deep purple that seemed to indicate surprise or perhaps concern. "Your solar system," Administrator Krull repeated. "Our records indicate this sector as unclaimed space. There is no registered sentient species in this system." Amir stepped forward, unable to contain his scientific curiosity. "Registered? With whom?" The Galactic Registry, of course, Krell replied, as if explaining something obvious to a child. All sentient species are cataloged and monitored by the Vroxian Collective. It is how we maintain order across 12,000 star systems. Elena felt a chill run down her spine. We weren't aware we needed to be registered. Clearly, Krell said, his tone suggesting this was a significant oversight. Your species has developed interstellar capabilities without proper oversight. This is highly irregular. Interstellar, Sophia interjected. We've barely established a presence in our own solar system. The aliens conferred among themselves in hushed tones, their skin now pulsing with rapid color changes. You have artificial habitation beyond your homeworld, Krell finally stated. By definition, this classifies you as a Category 3 civilization. All Category 3 civilizations must be registered, regulated, and integrated into the Collective's framework. Marcus tensed visibly, his hand moving closer to his weapon. Helena subtly signaled him to stand down. We appreciate your concern, Helena said carefully. But humanity governs itself. We have our own nations, our own laws, our own path of development. Krell's skin darkened to a deep blue. Unregulated development leads to chaos. The Collective has maintained galactic peace for over 10,000 cycles by ensuring all sentient species follow the proper evolutionary trajectory. And if we prefer to develop at our own pace? Elena asked. That is not an option, Krell stated firmly. Unregistered species present a risk to galactic stability. We will dispatch a registration fleet to your homeworld immediately. Your planetary leadership will be expected to comply with standard integration protocols. Elena exchanged glances with her team, reading the concern in their eyes. This was far beyond their authority to negotiate. We'll need to consult with our governments, she said. This is a decision that affects all of humanity. Of course, Krell replied. You have one standard cycle to prepare your planet for registration, approximately 30 of your Earth days. And if we decline? Marcus asked, unable to stay silent any longer. Krell's skin shifted to a deep crimson. Non-compliance is not recognized by the Collective. The registration fleet has methods to ensure cooperation. As the humans returned to their shuttle, they carried with them a data crystal provided by the Vroxians, containing what Krell called basic information about the Collective and registration protocols. The weight of what had just transpired pressed down on them like a physical force. Once safely back aboard and heading toward Europa Station, Sophia broke the tense silence. Did we just get an ultimatum from an alien empire? Worse, Amir replied, already scrolling through the translated data from the crystal on his tablet. We got a bureaucratic notice from one. Elena stared out at the vastness of space, Jupiter's massive form dominating the view. How do we tell Earth that we have 30 days to surrender our independence to alien regulators, or face the consequences? They're underestimating us, Marcus said firmly. They think we're just going to roll over because they have fancy technology. Are they wrong? Amir asked, his voice quiet. Look at these specifications for their ships. We couldn't stand against this. Elena turned to her team, her expression resolute. Humanity has never backed down from a challenge. We've survived ice ages, plagues, world wars, and our own self-destructive tendencies. If these Vroxians think we're going to simply submit because they have a form for us to fill out, they've got another thing coming. As Europa Station transmitted their urgent message to Earth, none of them realized that humanity's greatest strength was something the Vroxian Collective couldn't possibly understand, our relentless, chaotic innovation in the face of limitations. And the Vroxians had just given humanity the ultimate limitation to overcome. The challenge. The United Nations Emergency Council convened in record time. Representatives from every nation on Earth gathered in New York, the usual political divides momentarily set aside in the face of an unprecedented existential threat. Elena Reyes addressed the assembly via secure quantum link from Europa Station, her image projected above the central podium. The data crystal they provided contains extensive information about their civilization, Elena explained. The Vroxian collective oversees what they call the orderly development of thousands of species across the galaxy. They believe all intelligent life follows predictable evolutionary paths, and they've made it their mission to enforce these paths. Enforce. The representative from Brazil leaned forward. What exactly does that mean? Secretary General Amara Okafor, a Nigerian diplomat known for her cool head in crisis, raised a hand. Dr. Hassan has analyzed their protocols. Amir, please explain. Amir's face replaced Alina's in the projection. The Vroxians classify civilizations into categories. We're Category 3, spacefaring but limited to our own star system. According to their regulations, all Category 3 civilizations must submit to Vroxian oversight. This includes technology restrictions, population controls, resource allocation quotas, and cultural harmonization. Murmurs of outrage rippled through the assembly. And if we refuse? Asked the Chinese representative. Their record shows 17 cases of non-compliance by Category 3 civilizations. Amir continued grimly. In each case, the Vroxians deployed what they call pacification measures. The details are vague, but the results are clear. Complete submission, or, well, the alternative isn't specified, but those civilizations no longer appear in later records. The hall fell silent as the implications sank in. General Maya Patel of the Global Defense Initiative stood. Secretary General, we've analyzed the Vroxian military capabilities based on the data provided. Their technology is significantly advanced beyond ours in most areas. Conventional resistance would be problematic. So we surrender. The American representative's voice was incredulous. Accept alien rule because they have better ships. Sofia Rodriguez, who had been quietly analyzing the technical data, requested to speak. There's something odd about their technology. It's advanced, yes, but in a peculiar way. It's uniform, standardized. There's no evidence of recent innovation or adaptation. Explain, Secretary General Okafor prompted. The Vroxians have been using the same basic designs for what appears to be thousands of years, Sophia continued. They've refined their existing technology to near perfection, but they haven't fundamentally changed their approach in millennia. It's as if they stopped inventing. Dr. Quang Mbeki, head of Earth's Advanced Research Division, nodded in agreement. I've noticed the same pattern. Their communication protocols, their energy systems, even their materials science, all follow rigid, predictable patterns. There's an algorithmic elegance to it, but also a profound lack of creativity. A thoughtful silence fell over the assembly. How can we use this? Asked General Patel directly. Dr. Mbeki's eyes lit up. If they haven't faced a novel challenge in thousands of years, they may not know how to adapt to one. Their systems are optimized for maximum efficiency within known parameters. But throw something unexpected at them. They might not know how to respond. Sophia finished. It's like playing chess against someone who's memorized all the classic openings and defenses, but has never faced an unconventional move. Secretary General Okafor leaned forward. Can we develop unconventional moves in less than 30 days? The next 3 weeks saw the most extraordinary global cooperation in human history. Traditional rivalries were set aside as scientists, engineers, and military strategists from every nation pooled their knowledge and resources. Dr. Mbeki's Advanced Research Division became the hub of a frantic, round-the-clock effort to identify and exploit potential weaknesses in Vroxian technology. Sofia Rodriguez, temporarily relocated to Earth, led a team analyzing the Vroxian communication systems. They're incredibly sophisticated but rigidly structured, she explained during a briefing. Every command follows precise syntax patterns. There's no room for ambiguity or interpretation. Could we disrupt those patterns? General Patel asked. Better, Sophia replied with a smile. We could mimic them, create false commands that their systems would recognize as authentic. We're developing what we call the Echo Protocol. It listens to their communication patterns and generates convincing responses or contradictory commands. Meanwhile, Dr. Mbiki's team made a crucial discovery about Vroxian weapon systems. Their targeting algorithms are extraordinarily precise, he reported, but they rely on predictive modeling based on standard physics. They assume objects will follow normal trajectories. And if they don't? Secretary General Okafor asked. We've developed a prototype propulsion system we're calling Chaos Drive, Dr. Mbiki explained. It deliberately introduces random vector changes at irregular intervals. According to our simulations, Vroxian targeting systems would struggle to maintain a lock on vessels using this drive. The plan that emerged was audacious, relying more on human ingenuity than firepower. Earth would not attempt to match Vroxian technology directly. Instead, they would exploit the rigid thinking that came from thousands of years of unchallenged dominance. 28 days after the first contact, Earth's defenses were as ready as they could be. A fleet of 20 spacecraft, hastily modified with the new Chaos drives and Echo protocol systems, waited in high orbit. They weren't warships in the traditional sense, but were designed to confuse, mislead, and demonstrate humanity's unpredictability. On the 29th day, long-range sensors detected multiple fold space distortions near the orbit of Mars. The Vroxian registration fleet had arrived. A day early. Typical bureaucrats, Alina Reis quipped from the command ship Prometheus. They show up ahead of schedule to prove a point. The Vroxian fleet was a sight to behold. 7 massive vessels arranged in a perfect heptagonal formation, their hulls gleaming with the same color-shifting material as their creator's skin. They were beautiful, mathematical, and utterly intimidating. A communication came through on all channels. Attention unregistered sentient species of Earth. This is Principal Registrar Zex of the Vroxian Collective. Your evaluation period has concluded. Prepare to receive registration officials. Resistance is unnecessary and inefficient. Secretary General Okafor, from the secure bunker beneath the UN headquarters, sent humanity's response. Principal Registrar Zex, Earth acknowledges your arrival. Before proceeding with any registration activities, we request the opportunity to demonstrate our cultural practices as a gesture of goodwill. There was a long pause before the reply came. Cultural demonstrations are not part of standard registration protocol. Perhaps not. Okafor responded smoothly, but understanding Earth culture will help facilitate a more efficient integration, would it not? We simply wish to show you how humans approach new relationships. Another pause, then. A brief demonstration will be permitted. Proceed. General Patel gave the signal. Operation Jester is a go. The 20 Earth vessels, previously hidden behind a sophisticated cloaking field developed from studying Vroxian sensor technology, suddenly appeared, not in formation, but in seemingly random positions around the Vroxian fleet. What is the meaning of this? Came Zex's immediate response. Your vessel's positioning does not conform to recognized approach patterns. This is how we say hello, Alina replied from the Prometheus. We call it dancing. And with that, Earth's ships began to move, each following unpredictable trajectories programmed by the Chaos drives. The Vroxian sensors could track them, but their targeting systems continuously failed to predict where the human vessels would be next. Simultaneously, Sophia's Echo protocol went to work, broadcasting subtly altered versions of the Vroxians' own command frequencies back at them. Not attacking, just creating confusion. On the Vroxian flagship, Principal Registrar Zex watched in growing bewilderment as his perfectly organized fleet began receiving contradictory information. Some ships reported the human vessels were attacking. Others reported they were retreating. None could establish a targeting solution. This is not standard behavior, Zex finally transmitted, a note of frustration creeping into the usually monotone Vroxian voice. Cease these erratic movements immediately. We're just getting started, Alina replied. Now let's show you how humans negotiate. Humanity's answer. Principal Registrar Zex stood on the command deck of the Vroxian flagship, his skin cycling through shades of purple and red. colors that his species scientists had long ago correlated with confusion and frustration. The primitive human vessels continued their chaotic dance around his fleet, defying all standard evasive pattern recognition. Establish targeting locks and prepare compliance beams, he ordered, his four-fingered hand moving in precise gestures over the control interface. His second-in-command, Sub-Registrar Vela, hesitated. Principal, our targeting systems are experiencing unprecedented failure rates. The human vessels appear to be randomly changing vectors. Impossible, Zex dismissed. No spacefaring civilization uses random navigation. It's inefficient and dangerous. Nevertheless, Vela insisted, our predictive algorithms cannot establish stable solutions. Zex's skin darkened further. In 10,000 cycles of service to the collective, he had overseen hundreds of registrations. None had presented such irregularities. Deploy wide-field compliance measures, he finally ordered. Maximum dispersal pattern. Aboard the Prometheus, Alina Reyes watched as the Vroxian vessels repositioned themselves into what appeared to be an attack formation. They're charging weapons, reported her tactical officer. Energy signatures match what we expected from their compliance beams, some kind of advanced electromagnetic pulse designed to disable our systems. Alina nodded calmly. Right on schedule. Activate the Faraday protocols. Throughout Earth's fleet, specially designed electromagnetic shielding systems based on centuries-old principles, but implemented with cutting-edge materials, hummed to life. When the Vroxian compliance beams washed over the human ships moments later, instead of the expected shutdown, the vessels continued their erratic movements unaffected. Impossible. Zex's voice came through, the translation algorithm unable to completely mask his shock. Your technology is not sufficiently advanced to resist compliance measures. That's where you're wrong, Registrar, Alina replied. We're not using advanced technology. We're using variable technology in new ways. Dr. Mbiki's voice cut in from Earth Command. Your compliance beams are designed to disrupt standardized computer interfaces, correct? Our ships are currently running on hardened analog systems as backups. You can't disable what you don't understand. The human strategy was becoming clear. They weren't trying to defeat the Vroxians through superior firepower, but by presenting problems the collective had never encountered in their thousands of years of regulated, predictable expansion. Zex's frustration reached a breaking point. This behavior is unacceptable. The registration will proceed according to established protocols. I think it's time for Phase 2. Alina said to her crew, then addressed the Vroxian fleet. Principal Registrar, we've demonstrated that your standard procedures are ineffective against us. Now we'd like to demonstrate why attempting to force compliance would be a mistake for both our species. She nodded to her communications officer. Activate the Echo Protocol. Full implementation. Sofia Rodriguez's masterpiece went to work. The Echo Protocol had been absorbing and analyzing Vroxian communication patterns since the fleet's arrival. Now it began generating perfectly formatted command signals that mimicked those from Vroxian High Command, creating a cascade of contradictory orders throughout the alien fleet. On the Vroxian ships, confusion reigned. Some vessels began powering down weapon systems in response to apparent stand-down orders. Others initiated diagnostic sequences that took critical systems offline. 2 ships on the formation's edge actually began preparations for fold space departure. What is happening? Zex demanded, watching as his perfectly coordinated fleet fell into disarray. Override all external commands. Authorization sequence, Zex Prime Alpha. Authorization confirmed, replied the ship's central intelligence. However, multiple conflicting authorization codes of equal or greater priority are being received simultaneously. For the first time in his long career, Zex felt something close to panic. The collective's strength had always been its perfect order, its unwavering adherence to established protocols. Now that very strength had become a vulnerability. Cease all communications, he finally ordered. Isolate fleet command systems immediately. The Vroxian ships went silent, cutting themselves off from the Echo Protocol's influence, but the damage to their coordination was already done. Elena seized the moment. "Principal Registrar Zex, I suggest we begin actual negotiations now. As you can see, humanity doesn't fit neatly into your established categories." There was a long silence before Zex's response came, now on a single, heavily encrypted channel. "Your species' behavior is unprecedented. The collective has no protocol for this situation." "That's exactly our point," Secretary General Okafor replied, joining the conversation from Earth. "Humanity doesn't follow predictable patterns. We never have. Our strength lies in our diversity, our adaptability, and yes, sometimes our chaos. But order is necessary for galactic stability," Zex insisted. "The collective has maintained peace for thousands of cycles through careful regulation." "We're not opposed to order or peace," Okafor countered. "But we will not surrender our independence or our innovation. Instead, we propose a new classification for Earth, an autonomous partner species rather than a regulated one." "Such a classification does not exist," Zex stated. "Then create one," Elena suggested. "Adapt. Isn't that what truly advanced civilizations do?" Another long silence followed. When Zex spoke again, his tone had changed subtly. "You have demonstrated capabilities that were not anticipated in our assessment. I am authorized to suspend standard registration protocols in extraordinary circumstances." "This is certainly extraordinary," Okafor agreed. "I will consult with the High Administrators," Zex conceded. "Until a determination is made, a temporary non-interference agreement can be established." It wasn't a victory, not yet, but it was an opening, something no other Category 3 civilization had apparently achieved before. 3 months later, Elena Reyes stood in the newly constructed Interstellar Diplomatic Center in Geneva, watching as the first official Vroxian diplomatic delegation arrived. Not as conquerors or regulators, but as representatives to negotiate Earth's unique status in the galactic community. The data gathered from the confrontation had sparked a renaissance in human technological development. The glimpses of Vroxian technology, combined with humanity's inherent creativity, had opened new avenues of research and innovation. Earth was already developing its own version of fold space travel, one that operated on principles the Vroxians had never considered. More importantly, word had spread throughout the collective. Other species, long chafing under rigid Vroxian regulations, watched Earth's resistance with growing interest. Reports indicated that some were beginning to question the need for such strict adherence to predetermined developmental paths. "You started something significant," Dr. Mbeki said, joining Elena at the observation window. "The Vroxians have had to create an entirely new diplomatic division just to deal with us. And several other irregular species, I hear," Elena added with a smile. "They never expected that their greatest challenge would come from a species they considered primitive," Sofia Rodriguez said, approaching with a data tablet. "The latest analysis of their diplomatic communications shows they're still struggling to categorize us." "Good," Elena replied. "Maybe they'll finally learn that the universe is too vast and too strange to fit into neat little bureaucratic boxes." As the Vroxian delegation entered the chamber, their skin shifting through formal greeting patterns of blue and gold, Elena couldn't help but feel a surge of pride. Humanity had faced its first galactic challenge not with brute force, but with the very qualities that made us human: our unpredictability, our creativity, our refusal to accept limitations. And in doing so, we hadn't just secured our place among the stars. We had begun to change the stars themselves. In the vast Vroxian archives, Earth's file now bore a unique classification: anomalous autonomous species. Approach with caution. It was the first of its kind. It wouldn't be the last.